My name is Steve Haney. I'm a former Will County prosecutor where I've handled several hundred DUIs within the Will County court system, where I've practiced for over 25 years. I now want to take just a few minutes and talk about what someone can expect when they're arrested for a DUI in Will County. The first thing to be dealt with is a summary suspension of your driving privileges. Net suspension is an automatic suspension that begins 46 days from the arrest date, and it runs 6 months for someone who took and failed the breath test, and it runs for 12 months for someone who refused a breath test. Now, one of two things can happen to that suspension. The best of those two is that the suspension gets rescinded, thrown out. Now, there's a handful of technical errors that can occur to allow for the suspension to get thrown out. But if the suspension doesn't get rescinded, then the second thing that can happen is that a permit can issue, and that permit's called a monitoring device driving permit. It's abbreviated MDDP. There's only two restrictions with this permit. The first restriction is for the first 30 days of the suspension, you can't legally drive at all. That's what's called a hard suspension. After the 30th day, when the permit kicks in, you can then drive anywhere, for any reason, for any purpose you so choose, but subject to the second restriction. And the second restriction is the permit requires your car to have what's called a BAID device installed in the vehicle that you drive. A BAID device is basically an alcohol detection device that ties into your car's ignition system. Once your summary suspension is dealt with, now it's time to deal with the actual DUI. Any proper analysis of a DUI requires knowledge of the specific facts of the case, including important facts such as whether the breath test was taken or whether it was refused, whether field sobriety tests were given, how you performed in those tests, whether they were videoed, whether there's an accident or no accident. Of course, your driving record itself will also play an important role in a proper analysis of your specific case. Most people's main concern when they get arrested for DUI is protection of their driving privileges. Well, for someone who's never had a DUI before, the opportunity is certainly there for them to avoid a DUI conviction and further avoid any long-term harm to their driving privileges. If you want more information on what to expect when arrested for a DUI in Will County and how I could help you, please feel free to give me a call for a free initial consultation.